Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the monumental 60th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-hosts Andrew Norman and Mikey A. Today's topic is balance and flexibility in recovery, and this isn't talking about yoga. Can you share what this means to you, Andrew, and why you picked this for today?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can. Good to see you boys. Three Musketeers. Balance and flexibility, man, is very important as we come out of this disease of addiction. You got to remain flexible because we can get real rigid and stay in a lane for too long, and then it can throw us off course. So we gotta remain flexible and teachable, but it's about balance as well too. So there's kind of a gray area in there where we got to remain balanced because I have a disease that but I have that addictive personality, and so when I get my head set on something, it's really easy for me to get off balance. And so if I'm not on keel, man, I'm gonna start making bad decisions, and that's not gonna help anybody around me, including myself. And so I got to remain balanced, got to remain teachable, got to remain flexible. This disease cannot hit a moving target, so I got to stay moving. And that includes being, that how the of this program, staying honest, open-minded, and willing. But the balance and the flexibility, I mean, there's so many ways we can go with this. I just wanted to kind of open that broader discussion up. I know we've got some questions that we'll be able to throw around here, but got to remain teachable, flexible. If you're not flexible in this program, the minute you think you can't go to a Zoom meeting and hear the message because you can only stay in the in-person meeting, you're done. So you got to stay flexible. And I'll go ahead and pass that on and open that up to the broader discussion to Mikey.
Mikey.
What's up, fellas?
What's up?
Hi, Diggity Dog. Tell us about your balance and flexibility.
I like this addition, the addition of the He-Man Woman Hater Club today. I like it. Flexibility and balance. Like I like those two things in recovery because without balance, man, I'm in a dangerous place, right? Because I'll focus on one thing, and I was taught to try and stay in the middle of the boat. I was taught to try and keep everything right in the center of the plate. And when I'm leaning more towards one way or the other, things start to get off kilter, and I need to have that flexibility to be able to switch it up real fast and get back to that. And I love what Andrew just said about, like, people get to this place, and if they don't think they can get a meeting on the Zoom platform and it's not the same thing, like I be getting offended. When people are like, oh, this is supplemental. And I don't mean to mock that the way they say it, but I do mean to mock that because, like, check it out, right? Back in the day when I started recovery, we used to do these things called in-person meetings in brick and mortar, right? And then COVID happened, right? COVID happened, and I've been able to stay. Today, guys, we have 3 years, 11 months, and 14 sunrises, right? And I'm a Zoom baby right now. I got clean on the screen, and I've stayed clean on the screen. I've been to a few in-person meetings, but predominantly, man, it's coming onto this flat platform and being flexible in my work life and in my personal life, and it's helping me achieve that balance in my recovery. And I get to meet beautiful people like you two fellas. I would have never met you if I was only going to in-person meetings, like, and that's the part of this thing it's so great. These are two topics that, like, I don't think they get talked about nearly enough.
Great.
Awesome. Well, and You know, I have some pretty large passions in my life. I have, I have this podcast. I have my recovery. I have my family. I have my work. Um, and I have my health. And, all these things are tendrils pulling away at the time of every single day. So balance is something that you either carve out or it won't exist. 100%. For me, if I don't designate part of my existence for something, my existence will gobble it up in other areas and it'll just be gone. And they say that you have to put your recovery first, but have fun staying straight if you're watching your family walk out the door because you've gone to 15 meetings in a day and you're ignoring them. There has to be a balance. There has to be, like, like you, you can't swing the pendulum too far in any direction or it's out of balance. And and then as far as the flexibility goes, I was pretty rigid in my pattern of using. I was like, more, now more, today, tomorrow, the day after. Don't get in my way or you're out of my life. Don't mess with that schedule. So that was pretty inflexible. Like it wanted its satisfaction, and I was the delivery vehicle for my addiction, you know. But coming into recovery, first of all, like I feel like that this kind of almost ties into a little bit of the how, the hope, honesty, and willingness that they say, the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, sorry, that are required for our first steps in the program. And it's just like, flexibility only occurs with an open mind. Flexibility only occurs if you're willing to make a change. And quite honestly, I think you won't even see what to be flexible about if you're not being honest. So I think I'll leave my opening part at there. And
Love it.
I am going to ask you a question, Andrew.
Cool.
Okay. When you were 5 and your grade 1 teacher told you, no,
Ooh, I was getting ready to go. I was getting ready to go. Going
I
back.
was just like,
I
oh,
was
like,
closing my
yeah.
eyes.
When Mrs. McGillicuddy told you that put out your hands for the ruler.
McGillicuddy.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. Finding the balance in our program is a challenge. We can slow down without stopping. We can learn to be content without being complacent. We can be happy with our lives as they are and still not stop doing the basics. How do you find your balance between complacency and growth?
That's a great question, man. Balance is something that balance is not something that you find. Okay. Balance is something that you create. You're not just gonna say that's my first zinger, right? Balance is not something that you find, man. It's something that you have to create. And so remaining um teachable, getting that information as it comes in from all these angles. We sit in these meetings and we hear a lot of messages, right? We get a lot of suggestions, and the only suggestions are that we pay for, the ones that we don't take. So finding that balance, man, is so important. But how do we find that balance, and what is the process that we go into about obtaining that balance, man? Because um a lot of times we'll come in here and we focus on those differences, man. I'm gonna find a way out before I even get in. I'm gonna find a way to differentiate myself from this pack because this is not where I want to be. And I've got to find ways to identify my way in. I cannot complicate my way out of this thing. And it's really easy early on, especially when we first get in these rooms, to, man, I didn't know y'all are spitting these traditions and this how it works. And there's 12 of those, and we do recover. And and all these readings, and it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to me. So as I'm trying to figure out what the balance is between life and death at this point. I'm trying to figure out, is this the way I'm going to be? Is this going to be a thing that I can do to live and maintain um, um, God, to be an upstanding member of society and find a new way to live. That's what y'all told me. Look, any addict can find stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and then find a new way to live. And I didn't believe y'all at first. And part of balance is because I was going so hard the negative way in my active addiction. I have to go so hard on my recovery, man, because I am so deep in that hole. Like, to even start to remain a natural balanced state every day, I have to literally eat, sleep, drink, everything that I do has to involve recovery. And that means going to meetings. That means getting myself in service if I can early, and being a greeter. I don't care what it is. Giving hugs at in-person meetings. I don't care what it is. Falling asleep with a podcast in your ear, going on the 24-hour platform and sleeping in that bitch for 2 weeks. You have to go so hard into your recovery at the beginning because of the lack thereof leading up to, right? I had 20 plus years of active use, not giving a shit about anything but my active use, because I didn't want to feel like I was going to die. And so now, as I'm getting clean, here we go. I don't want to feel like I'm going to die, because on the other way, right? Because I'm getting better now. My primary purpose is to stay alive, not feel like I'm gonna die, and not want to feel that way, right? It's a whole different way to go. Hey, I want to live, and I want to do things differently because I want to live, not because I don't want to feel like I'm not gonna die. That's a totally different mindset to live by. And so I have to go so hard to even come to square one on my recovery, because if I don't do it, like I'm speaking on me. That's how I had to do it. And I still go hard on my recovery. Y'all see me, man. I'm recovering somewhere, somehow, some way, all day, every day, in a meeting, of service, sharing a meeting, doing whatever I got to do to keep it on the forefront of my mind. And so I really had to go hard on this thing to come to square one, to live a balanced life now, so that I can kind of balance it out in my Just for Today program that we live in, right? We're in a Just for Today program. So now that I've really just thrown it in, everybody knows I'm an addict, man. And I set my boundaries, and I'm at a square one now, where now I'm living this life after my degradation, depression, and that addicted lifestyle. I'm living a healthy lifestyle now. And now it's very easy. It's a lot easier to day balance my life. I don't have to meet myself and pull myself out of this hellhole that I've been living in anymore. I can do that day to day now. I can step 10 that bitch every day and figure out what I did right and wrong, and make an amends for that. Right. We'll pass it to you, Mikey.
Do you like me to repeat the question, Mikey?
You got some long ones that I just can't remember.
Okay, here we go.
Please,
so when you were in
please
grade
repeat
2 and Mr. Johnson asked you to, no, finding the balance in our program is a challenge. We can slow down without stopping. We learn to be content without being complacent. We can be very happy with our lives as they are and still not stop doing the basics. How do you find the balance between complacency and growth in your program? Mikey.
So this is why I love that we get to have these types of discussions on here, right? Because I believe, right, that balance is not only created, but it is also found, right? Picture trying to teeter a plate, right? And if I start adding these little pebbles all around the sides, I gotta find that teeter point. I gotta. So when I got here, I had to figure out where I had to put my little marbles, where I can figure out that perfect balance. And I'm constantly adding and I'm constantly subtracting. And it was real tough for me in the beginning because I got here too and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I love that you know, every day when we read it, right, it talks about easy does it. And in my brain, I always say go hard because it tells me in the basic text that I need to chase my recovery like I chase the drugs. And you weren't telling me nothing. I was going to do whatever I had to do to get the next one. So I need to be willing to try and do something for my recovery. And same, right? Like, you know, Andrew's becoming a big piece of my recovery. And, you know, I'm involved in service. I make meetings every day. I share regular contact with my sponsor, all these things. And I love that, like, my sponsor teaches me that I need to be this passive observer. I need to be able to take a step back and assess things. I need to look at things in the bigger picture, right? It's not always about moving forward. Sometimes, man, that pause moment that I've been gifted in recovery, sometimes it's about that pause moment where I can assess things and start to try and address things. And like, maybe I need to add a little bit of this. Maybe I need to take away a little bit of that. It's this constant, ever moving target. It's just a moving target, and I strive for it. You know, I'm never probably going to get it perfect. And if I do, I'm going to fuck it up because I am that addict that, like, if I can just get that, I'm going to be okay. No, 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 no. If I get that, I'm going to be okay. And when I get those things, it's always on to the next thing. It's always something else because I want, I want, I want, I want. You know, it's not such a terrible thing. It's not such a terrible thing, but how I do that, man, is just try and take these simple suggestions. I try and slow things down for myself because everything in the beginning was moving so fast, and I saw all these things on the wall, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. Maybe I'll do some of that. I'll do that. I'll do that. And you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about it. Like, it encompasses the how of this program. And I need to be honest with myself when things start to get a little wonky, right? I need to be honest with myself if I'm becoming overwhelmed. I need to be open-minded enough to see that because, like, man, when I first got into this process, man, I was a little service junkie because, like, I thought like I had to be the mayor. I took on all these service commitments and my life started to become unmanageable. When I very first got clean, man, I had about 120 phone numbers that I would individually text every morning. So we're talking, I had to wake up like an hour and change early just to individually text these people, right? And check it out. Some of those people wouldn't respond. And now I want to get butthurt about it, right? And that goes back to the thing is like, am I reaching out for a response or am I reaching out because it's the right thing to do? And even something inside of that and being so small will throw off my balance because now all of a sudden I'm starting my day resentful because Milan and Andrew didn't fucking text me back this morning, and I woke my happy ass up an hour and change before I should have, and I took the time out, right? And I just need to be willing to just let everything be okay. Let everything be. I don't need to keep my grubby little paws in the salute or in the answers to all of those things, right? The solution is going to figure itself out through the program, through my higher power, and yeah, man, that balance is a moving target, and it's a lot easier to achieve when I'm spiritually fit. And I stay spiritually fit by keep coming to meetings, stay centered in this process to the best of my ability, man, to the best of my ability.
Love
Love
you,
that.
Mikey.
Love you, bro.
Love you back, brother.
I love how you took the find and the create and showed that both are really necessary because I was like, well, I think you just described it exactly how I would have if I was able to verbalize what there was tension in my brain about that because I agreed with Andrew and at the same time I'm like, yeah, you have to find it though. Like, um yeah, it is that was a perfect part to that I think is so true is that until you find that balance because it really is, a point what I would like to add on to that is that I feel that that balance between complacency and growth is constantly changing in my program. What I needed day one was 100% immersion into the program in a treatment center and like no outside world. Like that's what I needed in order to even start my journey in this program. And trust me, I dream longingly of days in the treatment center. Like I would like a treatment center vacation 1 month a year. Like I'm not kidding. I really would, just to go in, talk steps, have group a bunch of times in the day, some good meals made. Let's do some reading. Like honestly, I was like, oh man, those are some simpler days. But for me, that balance, like it boils down to whether I'm living the solution or I'm living in the problem. And for me, the two states of being are like when I'm living in the problem, it's like there's a static electricity in my brain. And it's like no matter what you're saying to me, I'm just not a problem solver in that moment. And I'm already on a path of a defect or shortcoming. And the worst of that is, when I'm tired, or even like I was saying, dealing with all of this processing of financial information the last day and a half, like, there'd just be times where I'm like, well, my wife is really tolerant because it'd be like, I'd be in the middle of something. She'd ask a question and I wouldn't even want to respond. And if I did, it was curt and just kind of rude because I was so immersed in the stress that I was in, and there's that static electricity, like say way over here on this side. And then on this side, what I would call is the uncomfortability of growth. Like I might not be feeling pleasant, but I certainly know that I'm growing, like I'm struggling, I'm trying. It might not feel great, but there is some kind of satisfaction and serenity inside that, like it doesn't mean that like it's like orgasm positive, like, but it's certainly not kicking the balls negative. And
I love that.
yeah, but it's really it's a sliding scale. Like some days I feel like I wake up and it's just like almost the balance is there, and that's like you finished up with there, Mikey, when you were saying like, to keep yourself spiritually fit. It's like if I'm emotionally buoyant, like so like emotion my emotional sobriety is buoyant, then I'm floating through the day, you know? And if I've got the stones of resentments and shortcomings, I am paddling like a dog that's going down a river, hitting the rocks and smashing offshore. Yeah, so I think that's my answer for that. Andrew, you got a question for
Nice.
Mikey?
I do. So how do you stay open to new ideas even if they differ from your initial perspective?
Open-mindedness, baby. I keep my mind open because I get to listen for solutions, right? I hear stuff all the time in meetings that people say it worked for them or whatever. And like, I don't necessarily have to fix what's broken, right? All the time. But like when I hear something else and I actually listen for solutions, I might catch something that somebody says that they do or they try and apply in their life. And I'm like, shit, maybe I could do that too, right? Because like just because I'm doing something doesn't mean it's always 100%. And this might be the wrong way to put it, but always the correct way, right? There might be I am wired to take the easier, softer route. I'm just wired to do that. I'm going to cut every fucking corner I possibly can. And like sometimes, right, I'll think I'll achieve this spiritual fitness or whatever you might want to call it. And all of a sudden, Milan comes into a meeting, shares something really good, and I'm like, damn, maybe I could try that, right? And it strengthens it. Not only does it strengthen my connection with another addict, it strengthens that connection with my higher power, because now I'm going to exercise a little faith behind that, right? And I'm going to try and do different things. And again, it goes back to that, like, I got to chase my recovery harder than I chase the drugs, if not just as hard. But I try and do this thing a little bit differently today, man, because the program affords me this opportunity to live completely different, and I'm so grateful for that. And when I'm able to get out of my own damn way, shit seems to work out. Who would have thought that, right? You guys are going to hear me say it a million times, probably, right? The steps teach me to remove Mikey from the situation just a little more and more every time, right? And the faster I can get with some acceptance, and the faster I can have that how part of the program start to operate and work in my life, it's crazy. It's crazy the way things work out. And talking about like that emotional buoyancy, right? I say this all the time. I strive for that lasagna noodle, that even up and down flow, right? Like my emotions are here. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes, man, like, I'm a fucking wet spaghetti noodle flopping in the winds of a hurricane sometimes. I have these giant swings of emotions. And the easiest way for me to equate that is like, Milan was just touching on it. I can go to bed, man, and have like the most even keel spiritual day. It was just fucking aces all day long. And like I wake up the next morning and it's like a fucking train hit me during the middle of the night, and all of a sudden I'm worried about X, Y, and Z. And like I need to learn to recenter myself, right? And that's where like prayer and meditation, man. I might not pray every single day, but as soon as I open my eyes, I thank God for making me an addict. I thank God for making me an addict, because I get these spiritual principles, and I was led to this program where I get to learn to live a different life, and I have a fighting chance. Sometimes I'll check it out, right? My disease is alive and well in here. Sometimes I'm like, man, shut the fuck up. You don't want to hear that, because I'm comfortable in a shitty diaper sometimes, and I want to stay there sometimes. And that's the fact of the matter. It's not always rainbows and hawk tuas, boys. It's not. And sometimes I need to be able to, just weather the storm, man. Weather the storm.
Love that shit, man. I love that shit. You ready,
Sometimes I
Milan?
want to sit in a shitty diaper.
Bro, I love that. It's everything. Everything's not just rainbows and hawk tuas, man. I was waiting for that one to come out. Um, and
There was a lady I knew, and I remember her talking about her 3 kids, and she's like, the girls wanted changing right away. She's like, but Floyd would sit in that shitty diaper all day long, like it was just sand pile he was playing in.
I'm comfortable in chaos, man.
Yeah.
we got to lean into that
Yep.
unfamiliar piece, right? We talk about it. We've been talking about it lately. All right, Milan. So, how do you stay open to new ideas, even if they differ from your initial perspectives?
I would say, first of all, I find my brain to be a reflector. Like I will reflect after a conversation. I might not agree with you right now, even if it's a great idea. But I will literally replay most of what we say here over and over in my brain. Just like that's the way my brain works. And I will gladly change my opinion for better opinions. Once I've actually looked at it, analyzed it, and see the merit to it. Like I'm fully okay with that. I remember, I think I was, maybe mid-20s, and I was with one of my best friends, and we were in a band and we were talking about something, and he said, that's not what you said a month ago. And I was like, I am not who I was a month ago. I'm like, what you said makes sense. And I'm like, I took on your opinion and you're giving me shit. but like it really it's not instant with me. It's not like, whoa, because I know that I have the ability to really short-sightedly see something as amazing that really, upon greater inspection, is not. It's just lipstick on a pig, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm just dancing with this pig, and I was like, I thought I just learned a great new dance. Like but like, so it is with different life concepts.
That's so funny.
Like for me, it's going to take me a moment to reflect on it. I might be like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but I'm still going to go and think about it, and I'm probably going to try it out. And if it like absolutely fails in my own life circumstances, then maybe it's great for you, and maybe it's not great for me, right? Like we all can't pull off the same shit in life. It doesn't matter how good the idea is. We just don't all say things the same way. We don't speak the same way. We don't think the same way to even be able to actuate certain techniques in life. And that's one of the things that I love about music is that everybody puts their hands on an instrument in a different way and pulls out a different melody. And that's one of the most beautiful things about the variance that we have in music in the world, and it's also one of the beautiful, unique qualities of human beings, and like my recovery is never going to be your recovery. But guess what? We both been straight today, you know, and that's the beauty of so many facets of this program is that it's really an individual program. My program, as long as it keeps me straight, it's good enough right now, and I'm trying for more. I'm trying for more all the time. But I'm not going to say, man, look at Mikey and his fucking awesome philosophy. Too bad my day sucked with a little less acceptance. Like that, then I'm absolutely just living a life of comparison. You know, I will find my open mindedness depends on my health and my rest. You know, my open mindedness depends on health, my rest, my spiritual fitness, like as Mike said earlier on the other one, you know, the more I'm learning, the more I feel like I'm capable of learning, and I feel like, and my conscious contact with my higher power. Am I being present? If I am like I have been the last 2 days, like lost in the past and in the future of this whole financial thing, well, guess who wasn't really open minded to even hear what his wife was saying? Me, because I wasn't present. I was totally living somewhere else. I'm wasting that moment with her. So yeah, there's my answer.
I
You
love that,
want to
man.
ask yourself the
I love
question?
that,
Mhm.
man. Yeah. So how do I stay open to new ideas, even if they differ from my initial perspective? Um, yeah. I make a lot of meetings. I make a lot of meetings. I hear a lot of point of views. I hear a lot of uh perspectives on life, right? And the more meetings I make, the more people I run into that have that same uh illness that I have. And we all go through our own shit on a day-to-day basis, man. And it's and shit is tough out there, man. Like life fucking sucks. Life gets lifey, right? I heard somebody say life gets lifey, right? And so I come in here and I hear people's I hear their war stories. I hear their messages. I hear how people turn their messes into messages. And I'm able to gain hope and love, man. I'm able to feel that love, right? I'm able to connect my heart to theirs and pull some kind of um strength and hope from a different perspective, because that's all part of keeping this thing moving, man, because like we say, the disease cannot hit a moving target. And so if I can come in here and hear a slew of information coming from people that are coming out of this thing just like I am, then I'm gonna be able to relate my situation to what they're going through, and then I can switch it up a little bit, man, and try to stay in a in an easier lane than I was, right? If I'm going in a certain way and someone's kind of right next to me and they're like, hey man, if you just scoot right over a little bit and right in this lane, it's gonna be a little bit easier because the draft is better. I'm gonna draft right over here with you, man. Because why not? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? I'm not fighting those good feelings anymore, man. I'm not fighting being healthy anymore. I'm not fighting I'm fighting the world when in active addiction, man. I'm just fighting everything. Everything is uncomfortable to me. Unless I'm using, or unless that avenue is easy to get that drug, so I gotta sit in here and I gotta listen to other people's experiences and hope, and I gotta take what I can from those people. I gotta relate it to my life. I can't come in here and act like other people. I gotta be me, right? But I gotta listen to you with an honest and open heart. Off drugs, I can't be using drugs, right? I gotta stop using. Can't be in here using drugs and get any kind of message. And B, I gotta be open minded and ready to receive it. I gotta be in a place where I'm like I'm humble enough to hear that message. I
Mm.
don't got it all figured out, man. I don't have it all figured out. I never will. I never will, because this disease is not ever going to go away. So, as this world is continuously moving around me and everything else is moving around me, and I'm just this little smidge in this world, man, I gotta hear these things as they go, and I gotta roll with it, man, or I'm just gonna sit and I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna fall off the edge. So I gotta stay in the group, stay out of the group. I gotta stay I got to adapt this program or my life to this program, because if I start trying to adapt the program to my life, the program doesn't exist anymore, because my life's just going to take over all that. And the program is not going to exist in my life anymore. That's when I stopped going to meetings. That's when I stopped calling my sponsor. Right. I put my stock in this program, not the people of this program. I pick and choose my roommates. But this program, man, the whole thing itself, it's never going to let me down. So as long as I stay in the program and I listen to the people in this program, and I take in and I choose what I need from the information that I get and I hear in these meetings, I'm gonna be all right, man. I'm gonna be all right. I can lean into that every time. So I'm gonna keep it short and
That's
sweet.
right. New ideas can't be grafted onto a closed mind. Some great book says that somewhere. I'm just saying.
I heard that before too.
There you go. You got a question for me, Mikey?
Oh, I got some questions, that's for sure. I actually
Ooh,
came prepared today, gentlemen. I came prepared a little bit.
ooh,
I got I
good.
got some
I
got
might
some I
need
got
to
some
steal
thoughts.
one off of you.
Let's see. What advice would you give a newcomer that's struggling with balancing their life outside of recovery and continuing to work the program?
Question.
Well, gosh. So, it was really hard when I came out of treatment. Like I said, I've dreamed of going back into treatment. I was in treatment 35 days. And when I came out, they had this list of stuff that we're supposed to do and recommendations or suggestions and all this and that. But everybody I knew who had left options before me, the treatment center, that was successful, was listening to all their suggestions. Guess what? Suggestions take time of your day. And there was, me and a few people who had to work right away when we got out. And when we started working, it was really apparent that there was almost not enough hours in the day to do your program and to go to work and to do what remaining program was after work before bed. Like, and one thing that happened that, I felt like was really difficult for me was the seeking of that balance point and the attempted creation of that balance point was causing me more stress than the stress of using. Like I was literally at points where I was like, holy fuck, I can't get this done. And like my program and it was causing anxiety. And like I know that there's probably a million people out there that are going to be like, holy shit, don't say this. But honestly, do what you can and give yourself grace. Like you've got to keep shelter and food in your life. So your work is going to be part of your day. So then figure out what time left you have, you know, like they say, idle hands is the devil's playthings, right? Well, the rest of your time, for like to me at least, for at least the first year, the rest of your time, just throw it all at your program. Like that's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt you at all. But to be like, well, I can't watch 3 hours of this after work and then fit in a meeting. And it's like, you know what? You watch TV your whole life or whatever thing it is. It's like, but right at the beginning, you need to have a certain strength in your program, but you got to give yourself some grace. Like for me, I have to start my day right. And my morning part of my program was the most non-negotiable part of my program because without that, I was having an entirely shitty day. I can have a pretty shitty end of my day, go to bed and wake up and it be a new day. But man, if I start my day real shitty, it's much harder for me to make a U-turn on the middle of the highway than it is to just slow down, and change my day. So I think, for anybody out there, just spend a moment doing some time budgeting of like, for me, some people can get up and go to work 20 minutes later. I need a couple hours. I need a couple hours to come into my day because if I feel rushed and like that static electricity of like tension in the morning, then that's going to carry me right into the day. So for me, it's like, okay, I know I need a couple hours. So if I need that couple hours, then I've got to start earlier and I've just got to start my way into it. And how can I fit that stuff in without it being stressful? Because as soon as it crosses the line from like spaced out and I'm good with the fast paced progression, but when it becomes like almost unfittable and stressed out, it has now reduced the efficacy of my program. Like my program should not be causing me more stress. And that was just something that, like a few of us who had to go into full-time work again right away were experiencing. And, then at that point, you've got to pick the parts of your program that are the strongest for yourself. Like what is the most important part, and try things out, and if you realize, holy shit, I can't do without that other part, then you're gonna have to make some more time for it and figure out something. But it is really hard right at the start. Like now I just feel like my life is in this pattern. It's in this pattern and I'm okay with it. And I've got, just about every day I've got enough time to do the things I like to start my program in the day. And, and the right number of podcasts going in the week, and that's, a good thing. And it fluctuates on just other things, sometimes there's more work, sometimes there's more music, and that's just how my life will be. Boy, I think I went on for way too long on that one. I feel like I never talk for
That was
that long.
beautiful, man. That was
No,
beautiful,
I
man.
feel like you hit that nail right on the head, brother, and I
Hell
appreciate
yeah.
that.
Hell yeah. I'll take the question again, please, sir.
I got you, Big Cat. What advice would you give a newcomer that's struggling with balancing their life outside of the program and continuing to work the program?
Read the literature. Read the literature, read the literature, read the literature. It's written for you, by you. And every time I read it, I hear something different. And if you're struggling with balancing what the hell is going on here, and you're hearing all these things get thrown at you, read that literature. This is an open book test. Narcotics guys have produced the illusion that my life was manageable, right? And as an as an addict, man, the drugs were an artificial means to gain my balance, flexibility, my spiritual guidance, my whatever you want, man. It was everything. It was my artificial, fake ass means to get what I needed. And now that I have this 12-step program in my life, and I have step work, I have a sponsor, I have a new support network. That's my practical means to gain all these things that I'm looking for. I don't have this artificial fake ass sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that means to get there. I have a practical physical means. I have it in my hands. This literature is amazing. I hate reading. I fucking hate reading, and I love these books, man. I cannot stop reading these books because every time I read it, my whole body, like it takes over my body when I read these books, man. It's because I know that they're written by me for me. I literally can't stop reading these books, and so the real problem here, guys, is not it's not the drugs. The drugs were just that easy answer. It was that easy solution to gain my balance. But it was that conscious separation from the God of my understanding, man. You got to get a God of your understanding in your life, man. When you get a God of your understanding in your life, you can remain balanced. Because once you start getting thrown sideways, what do? You pray. You pray, man. You pray to that God of your understanding, and that balances you out. You find those answers. You don't get a text message verbatim that says, "Hey, go here at this time," and that you're going to get your answer. No, it just comes to you naturally, man. It comes to you naturally when you're working a program and you're talking to that being, that God of your understanding. And it doesn't have to be Jesus with long hair that walks on water. It does not have to be that person. It doesn't have to be this deity. It doesn't have to be Batman. It can be whatever you want, as long as it's not you. As long as it's not you. Because so I know a lot of times, as soon as we come in these meetings, the only thing that we have to go off of is our own way of thinking. Because our best way of thinking got us here, man. Like my best critical decision making got me here. And so now I was able to shut the fuck up long enough to hear that message that, like, I'm not alone, and I'm not an asshole, man. This thing has me flat out convinced I don't have it. This is the only disease that has us flat out convinced we don't have it. So you're not dumb. We're not idiots. We're not stupid people. And then on top of that, man, when we treat this thing properly, which is, if you're new and you're in these meetings and you're hearing this message, you're working recovery, you're in recovery, right? You're not, you're in recovery. And so that's how we treat this disease. And when you treat it properly, it leaves you in a better position than if you even had the disease to begin with. I will go down fighting every time with that shit. You will be left in a better position than if you even had the disease to begin with. So embrace that. Embrace that you're an addict. It is not a sign of weakness that you're an addict. The fact that you're an addict, you can put that on your shoulders, man, and you can walk around and you can go, man, look, I'm working a program today because I know what my problem is today. I'm not going to go out of this world not knowing what my problem is today. I have been smart enough and been put in a position in my life, and the God of my understanding put me in a position where now I'm lucky enough, and I've been lucky enough to know what my disease is and what my problem is today. And I don't have to go to the doctor anymore to get the medicine that I need. I need to come to these meetings, share honestly, listen to my peers, and get that medicine that I need. These meetings are my medicine today. I don't have to go to the doctor. I don't have to go to the pharmacy and wait in line and pay a copay to get my little bottle of drugs so that I can go home and feel okay. I pick up my phone, I pick up my tablet, and I call Milan and I call Mikey and ask them what meeting they're in right now. They call me and they ask me, where you at, man? I get an invitation because Mikey's speaking in Russia this morning, right? Like it's what we fucking do, man. I don't have to pick up that bottle anymore, man, to find my balance. And at first, just stop using. Just thaw the hell out And all this other stuff, all this step work, all this Gucci shit that we talk about all the time, it comes with time, and it'll come naturally. You just gotta remain teachable, man. You gotta come in here and you just gotta take that cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, man, and just listen and just remain teachable. So that's my answer to that, man. That was a good question. I like that question.
Nice, nice. I love that.
Mikey, you answering your question?
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a go. Why not? Check me. I'm going to reread it for myself. What
You
advice would
better.
I give a newcomer that's struggling with balancing their life outside of the program and continuing to work the program? Man, y'all hit so many nails on the head, right? Because my mind automatically goes to put the bat down and pick up a feather. That's what this program is about, right? It's about what I learn in here and I take outside, right? And when I'm doing too much inside, it affects outside. When I'm doing too much outside, it affects inside, right? I needed to figure out what worked best for me. And that's different from when I was in early recovery to now. And
Absolutely.
that was like the biggest piece was allowing myself that grace because I'm not going to do this thing perfectly. I'm still not ever going to do this thing perfectly. I wish I would because I'd probably save myself a lot of grief, heartache, and just shitty diapers that I need to rechange. But you know, that's the advice I would give is to just slow it down. Slow it, just pump the brakes a little bit. Allow yourself. That's what I needed to do in the beginning. And I needed to allow myself to be a human being, right? Because I was so critical of myself and everything that I was doing. And like Milan, you touched on that, man, when it's like everything's going so fast and all of a sudden I'm like, well, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I'm in recovery now. And oh, whoa, buddy, whoa, right? It tells me in the basic text not using is an abnormal state for an addict. So I'm already behind the eight ball and I need to slow things down for myself. So the advice or suggestions, right? Because I wish I can tell you I've taken every single suggestion I've ever been given. No, no, right? I hear these things and I take what applies and everything else I just let it fly, right? And I had to figure out what worked best for me, right? Like I had to just kind of slow everything down a little. And Andrew hit that nail on the head. The first thing that has to happen, I got to stop using. I got to stop using. I got it. Basic page 19 in my favorite book. The first sentence it says, it doesn't matter what or how much we used in this place, staying clean has to come first. Right? So once I can achieve that, and it doesn't like it I don't even like I could still think about it right in the beginning because that's what it was, man. I thought you guys were going to give me this secret recipe and give me this formula that I was going to be able to successfully use on the weekends, and I needed to learn to let go of that, right? Because I couldn't picture my life without substances. I just couldn't. And then I started to come around more, right? I say this all the time too. Just make meetings. Just go to meetings. There's a reason why we say make a meeting a day for 90 days. There's a reason why we say that because in that 90 days you now form a habit. And they'll
Bait and
probably
switch.
that's right. And I was just gonna say it's probably gonna be the same thing that happened to me, right? It was the bait and switch because when that 90 days was up, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I kept going to meetings, right? And that's where I learned and I got to get this melting pot of stuff, right? And all those other suggestions that come along with it, right? Check it out, man. I thought when I got my first sponsor, like I thought I was getting a financial advisor. I thought I was getting a relationship expert. I thought I was getting somebody that was basically going to tell me what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and life was going to be okay. And I learned real fast it's not the case, right? And I just needed to surround myself with like-minded people. And I don't say this in a bad way because like I couldn't surround myself with other people that were in early recovery too, because we'd just be co-signing each other's bullshit. We would just co-sign each other's bullshit. And that comparing was really easily just co-signed because it's like, oh yeah, we're not that sick. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't sound like him, not knowing what the fuck I was talking about. So I had to have that open mind and like pump your brakes, man. Pump your brakes. It's gonna be okay. Eventually, over time, I was able to find that magical formula that like what works for me, right? What works for me. And I love that you said that, Milan. Like my recovery it's gonna look different the way you work the program too, right? Because diversity is our greatest strength, right? What might take me 2 months might take you 5 days to get. What might take you 5 years to understand might take me 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. There's no time frame on this thing. I got the rest of my life to be a sponge, and I'm grateful for that. I am just ever learning on a daily basis, and I just have a daily reprieve from this thing, and I'm grateful for that.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love you, Mike.
Love you back, bro.
Uh, you're just got some rock star answers today, Mikey. You always do, but man, just some days I get lost in your response. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta ask a question now. Okay. Um, okay, so now my next question lies in the difference between admitting when a boundary was maybe improperly laid and flexibility involved with that. How do you face that having made that mistake with the boundary and creating flexibility within things that you think should be, your boundaries in your relationships, Andrew?
Yeah, really good question. Really, really thought-provoking question. Boundaries. What was the other part of it? Boundaries and versus implementing.
Well,
Say that again.
basically this, like if you make a boundary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think this is the defining line of what I'll accept or in certain relationships.
Yeah.
How do you have flexibility in that boundary to admit that you were wrong in the placement of that boundary? Like
Such a good
sometimes you think you're
question.
protecting yourself and really you're just protecting your ego.
No shit, no shit, man. And I'm dealing with a
Ooh,
little. I'm really
ooh.
look, bro. I love you asked that question. I love you for this because I'm dealing with a little bit of that right now. And it's in my relationship that I'm kind of going with, and I'm not gonna get super personal with it, but um, I gotta pick and choose wisely here.
Love you, brother.
You know, everyone has their own recovery, you know. And let's say you come into a relationship and you have, they have their recovery and you have your own recovery, and that's a great thing to have. I'm blessed for that. But but maybe you have a little more clean time than the other person does, and that doesn't mean anything. Clean time doesn't mean shit. It does, but it doesn't. But like you would think that someone that respects somebody in a certain position with a certain amount of clean time would be more apt to taking suggestions and things like that. And so as
Like you
certain suggest
deserve you deserve that.
right.
Mm.
So suggestions get thrown out. Certain things might happen that you see in them where you go, hey man, I've been in that house before and it's very hot and it'll burn you up. We've talked about this just the other day in a prior podcast where like I've been in that burning building and it hurt my hand. Look at the scar. Look, my hand, my I have a scar from that burning building. If you go in there, you're gonna get burned. So where do I draw that line on it being a boundary where it's like, hey, do not do that versus like hey, it's your own house, right? Like it's your house, and then you get the pushback from the other side where it's like, hey, I've got to work my own recovery and make my own mistakes. Well, yes, but no. Yes, you do, but you can take suggestions. And where like what mountain do I climb, or where do I get, what point do I get to where it's like I'm setting this as a boundary now, and if you cross it, there's a problem, right? it's very tough to see somebody that might be doing something that that you already know the outcome. And I've in through this process, I've seen it happen, and the outcomes come as just as I thought it would be. And I have to be very, very feather like with that response too, right? I got to put down that bat and pick up that feather in my response to, hey, like I told you so. So it's really, really tough, man. And I'm trying to skirt tires around the specific discussion here, and I hope I'm getting my point across, because I'm dealing with it right now where there's 3 or 4 things where I don't know where to set that boundary. I don't know if to make it a boundary or not, or where to set that boundary at. And man, it's so tough for me, man, because I don't want to set a boundary that I'm gonna regret because of my own character defects, maybe, right? There's where I consult my people, man. I call my friends, my sponsor, my really good friends in recovery, and they tell me what they think about it, right? And I can compile that information in an organized way, and then I can act on it. Pray on it, take a few nights and sleep over it, sleep on it, and then decide, hey, am I gonna stand on this mountain and say, look, you're either gonna come up on this mountain with me, or I don't give a shit, do your thing, or am I gonna stay down here and remain someone who is just going to be supportive in your endeavors and just be there for you when you fall down, if you fall down. It's very, very tough for me to try to say, man, this is an absolute boundary, and it's something I'm really dealing with in my relationship right now, with a couple of things with home groups and things like that, where it's like, hey, I see you're doing the wrong thing, and then they take it as, hey, you just because you have more clean time than me doesn't mean that I need to do exactly what you say. And maybe it's my delivery. Maybe it's my delivery in that in my suggestion to that boundary. I don't know. I don't know, but it's something that I'm really dealing with, and it's really tough, man. It's tough and I'm consulting my roommates and my friends and my sponsors, really helping me through that right now. But it's a never ending process with me, it seems like.
Feel like magically I just pulled that question out for you,
Bro,
man.
it's really, man, you made my nipples hard on that one, bro. It just kind of got me like really like crazy. Like, I don't even know. It's something that when we leave this podcast is something I'm going to be doing some step work on later for sure.
Yep.
I need to do it. So thank you.
I think it's really good though to at least be throwing it around and talking about it here, you know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so I didn't have an exact defined question lined out there, as you could tell by the looseness of it, Mikey, but do you want me to kind of go over what it was?
Repeat the last thing that you said to him, because I have kind of a question back for it.
So how do you have flexibility when you find that you might have laid a boundary incorrectly? And, first of all, you've got to bring an awareness, then an acknowledgement to that mistake, but then maybe actually changing it because it truly was, maybe serving your ego and not yourself.
Are we talking about somebody overstepping my boundary or me being a habitual line stepper? Because I'm a habitual line stepper.
Well, I meant it the first way, but I certainly would like to hear about your line stepping. So you could talk about both sides of it, actually.
Okay. So I really do. This is a really cool question.
Spicy,
I
bro.
really like. Yeah. It's definitely spicy because when I set a boundary, right? It's kind of crazy, right? Because like, say I set a boundary in a relationship, right? Like that was just kind of being spoke about, right? But it's in a different sense, right? When I set a boundary to create healthy relationships, I need to be absolutely willing to deal with the direct opposite. So when I set boundaries, I better be ready to deal with being lonely. And while I'm feeling lonely, it's actually creating those stronger relationships while I'm setting that boundary, right? And it's kind of crazy because I need to be willing to deal with the exact opposite, right? I need to be. That's first and foremost. And maybe sometimes, man, I might jump the gun, right? Because I've been in relationships too with other people in this program, and you know, I had to learn real fast to keep that shit completely separate. Because I'll be damned if my ex was ever gonna tell me you need to call your sponsor. Bitch, bitch. Like and I would kind of get a
Dude,
little
what?
upset with that, right? Like, and that's okay, right? Because again, that how part, right? I need to be honest with myself if I'm being a little too tough on somebody, or is it coming from a place of my ego? I need to have that open mind to be able to admit that to myself with the honesty piece, right? I need to be able to do that, and I need to be willing to make a change if needed, right? Because some of those boundaries are directly in place because like this is the hill I'm going to stand on and I'm going to die on this hill, right? Like they need to absolutely be in place. But as far as me being a habitual line stepper, I love to toe the line. I love to toe the line. I love to just put my toe there, to kind of test other people. It's what I've done my entire life, even in recovery, right?
Are you a
Because
younger brother?
yes, I am.
Younger
Yes, I.
brothers like to
Mhm.
do that.
So I'm the middle child, right? I have an older brother and I have a
Okay.
younger sister. So he's the baby, but she's really the baby. You know what I mean? So like there
So
I
you
was in
do
the
it and you
middle.
get it done too.
Uh-huh. So there I was in the middle, right? And I always felt like I always got the shit under the stick, but that's my stuff, right? And I need to remember sometimes, right? Because like this isn't a fucking game. This is not a game, especially when we're talking about other people's boundaries inside of recovery, right? Because I
Mhm.
need to remember that like I might go step on the wrong fucking line and it might cause somebody to lash out and physically hurt me. It might cause somebody to just stray away from the program that they might not ever come back. They might not ever find their way back, so it's really one of those things where I have to take a look at all of that stuff. And, you know, I don't have to be so serious all the time, right? Some of those boundaries can definitely be moved, but I got to remember that part too, right? And my people pleasing by moving those boundaries, right? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said by me? I constantly ask myself those three questions.
Preach,
And
bro.
if the answer to any one of those is no, shut my mouth. Just shut my mouth because I don't always have to be right anymore. I'm so grateful that I learned that in this process. I don't need to be right anymore. And it's a lot easier said than done because setting those boundaries, especially with other people in recovery, I need to remember that, like I said it the other day, right? Like, who am I to deny somebody their pain? Who am I to deny somebody their rock bottom, right? And it's tough, man, because like whether I have the scar or not, it's not going to stop anybody, right? Everybody
So
told
tough.
me before I found the fucking room, stop using, stop using, stop using. I didn't want to hear a motherfucking thing. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little something about yourself. And now we're just throwing daggers. And there's no solution to be found in that. So when I can get with the acceptance of like, I'm powerless not only over my disease, but your disease, man, it's cause kind of like stepping away and being like, well, I'm still going to be here regardless, right? It doesn't have to be this big struggle in my brain because I'd probably be doing the same thing as him. I'd probably be doing the same thing as Andrew. I'd be fucking second guessing everything, letting it rent space in my head and freaking out and talking to everybody. And that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But the quicker I can just realize like, all right, you're gonna figure it out your way. Cool. I'll be right here. I'll be right here.
I love
Ta-da.
that.
You're just
I
like a
love that,
mic dropper, Mike. I'm like
bro.
right in the middle of it. You stop, and I'm like waiting for the next sentence.
I'm just
So
zinging it out.
I'm
You
Zinging
need
it.
to have like a little
I'm
sound effect key that you go, "Dook," and it's the sound of a mic hitting plywood floor on a
I'm
stage.
I'm getting more comfortable on this platform here.
Yeah, I love it. That was great. Um, yeah, so almost inevitably, I'm finding that a lot of my boundaries might be based in some sense of self-preservation. But like
Mm.
imagine here's me with this boundary like this, right? What you're seeing is like this because that additional zone is my ego. You know, like I might need a 2.5 boundary, but I've asked you for a 7.5 just so that we've got negotiation surface, you know? and and really like I swear it's like a buffer, like it's a negotiation tactic for getting more of what I want. I can see it. And because like I'm like, this is what I need to be okay. And then all of a sudden I get way less than what I say I needed. And I'm like, oh, I'm still okay. Like, like the 2.5 was really the goal. And if I
Go
just asked for
figure.
that, but if I asked for that to begin with, then I might be living at a 1.2, like, and so it's it's been kind of a learning process for me, and as this all is. But one thing that really puts it in perspective is being really close to somebody almost dying. And then you realize that is a really fucking stupid boundary. It has nothing to do with the happiness in my life. Why would I even say that? Like if I was going to die tomorrow, would I ask for such a stupid boundary to exist?
Yeah.
Like death death is the greatest teacher. It's one of the things in that Untethered Soul book I was talking about there the other day. But like that guy, he's like, death is the ultimate teacher. Because if you compare everything to like, if this was your last this, you really see how frivolous and ridiculous most of the things that you would ask for, talk about, do, like most of that would all just wash away and you would actually see, hey, what's the really important things here? Do these people know that I love them? Am I acting loving to them? You know, and a lot of our day-to-day shit is not as loving as we fucking think, and it's not as like and it's and a lot of those boundaries really are just to keep us isolated and in our own little comfort zone of our ego.
Mm.
Love
And
it. Love
it really,
Mm.
for me, it's been just something that I've been just like ever since I kind of he was listening to that part, and literally, like I was with someone in the last month where they were giving us like, call this person when I die today, and they were dying in the same room as me. And I'm telling you right now,
Wow.
there's a really low importance for whether that last piece of fruit was yours or mine, or whether somebody places their shoes this way or that way by the door. Like there's a lot of little shit that we care about where it's like, man, I'll be really happy to see some misplaced shoes by that dead person. Like, seriously. Like if you had to take someone's faults back that you really miss that's dead, I
Yeah.
guarantee you would do it at least for a day. So why wouldn't you do it all the time?
Smell them stinky shoes all day if you could.
Well, it's
All
like,
day.
I feel that we have boundaries, and then I feel that we have like constrictions on life not based on gratitude,
Yeah. I
you
like
know?
that. Yeah. I love that.
And that's it for me. I'm not
Awesome.
that's
Awesome.
my sound effect.
So it's my I like that. I didn't know if that was a real sound effect or if that was you because it sounded really cool. All right. So is it my turn to ask a question?
And it's your turn to ask Mikey a
All right,
question.
Mikey, you ready? You ready? So in what are some areas of your life and where you're actively trying to become more adaptable and flexible?
Did you
And
steal the questions off my page or something?
you are my brother. We do stop the microwave at number three at number three before it stops. So I might have. So
An area in my life where what one more time, I'm sorry.
what are some areas in your life and where you're actively trying to become more adaptable and flexible?
Well, I'm forever gonna reference these two: sex and paychecks, sex and paychecks. Right now, I am. This is a little foreshadowing, but like it's okay to kind of look into the future a little bit for me today, right? Because it's just it's a part of my recovery, and it's going to be directly affecting my recovery, right? It's gonna it's you said it before, life be lifey, right? I used to hate when people would say life on life's terms because like
Me
I
too.
look at my birth certificate and I flip it over and I don't see fucking terms of agreement, right? I don't see that. So I'm like, what are we talking about here? But I'm about to switch back into the career that I was in for, the last 20 years.
Proud
I
of you,
stepped away
brah.
from Thank you,
Proud of you,
thank you.
man.
I
What is
stepped
that,
away
by
from
the
it.
way?
I work in restaurants. I've been working in
Okay.
restaurants for the last 20 years up until the past probably like 7 months. I took a step away from it just to kind of take a break. And that's where I'm gonna have to find that balance is my work life and recovery life. And this is just for me. I don't suggest anybody to do this because I've heard people get burned by it before. And the last place I was at kind of hurt me a little bit. I'm very open about being in recovery, right? I won't sit there and tell anybody like, oh man, I fucking did copious amounts of drugs, like, but I just say, hey, I'm in recovery.
You're not
And the
tattooing
last
it on
thing,
your forehead.
yeah, they'll,
You,
if they ask me for what, I just say everything. I keep it broad.
you just did tell a bunch of people that right now. Just so you
That's
know.
okay. That's okay. Because guess what? My employer that I'm about to start working for, I told them the same thing. And I said, listen, I do this thing in my life. It's very important. And that was like where my head was, right? It was very important for me that
Mhm.
like I'm still going to be able to keep that balance with recovery and like specifically my service commitments, right? And I
What'd you
might
do? And
lose
you
one.
talked to us. You talked to your friends and your network before you did that, right? And it worked
That's
out like
right.
it should, man.
That's right. So I brought it up to my employers and they were completely receptive to it. And I'm grateful for that, man. And like I understand why some people want to stay, anonymous inside of their workplaces and stuff. I get that. But recovery is so ingrained in me, and especially being in the service industry, right? Drugs are rampant. Drugs are everywhere. They're just everywhere in that industry. Like there's no dressing it up. There's no, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's important for me that my peers there or even the people that are gonna be technically below me in title, it's important they understand that like even if you're struggling, right? Like you can come to me and talk to me about that stuff. It's important for them to know that because there's a lot of high stress situations. And I'm not exempt from having a fuck it moment where at the end of the day, I'm going to go sit at the bar and be like, yo, let me get one of those. Right. And it's imperative for me that they understand that. And they might be like, no, we can't give that to you. And that might be the little hope that I need. Now,
Insurance.
that, yeah. So now that being said, we go back to the spiritual fitness part, right? It's just a fucking paycheck for me. Right. I got to learn that a long time ago. And learning to fit work because work is always one of the biggest like stressors in my life, right? Because for me you know I struggled financially for so long, actively using like all my money went to that, at least every extra cent that I had went to that. And you know when I finally started this process and I started to get money in the bank, like it made me feel good, right? Like I wasn't promised to get that when I got here, but like when I started to see money in the bank and I started to become fully self-sufficient, like I'm being taught in here, it made me feel really good. So I sometimes get trapped off in that I see the dollar signs and like it's always about the money. And today I'm so grateful that I realize it's not about the money, man. That shit's gonna come and go. I'm gonna spend it just as fast as I make it, and I'm gonna get some more of it later. You know, for me, man, without this thing, right? Without recovery, without my program, without you wonderful two gentlemen I'm staring at on the screen, none of that shit even matters if you guys aren't in my life. none of it matters because I'm gonna get messed up. And that's one of the biggest areas right now where I'm gonna have to readapt, right? You said it before, like I don't adapt um the program to my life. I adapt my life to the program. And I was taught early on, life's gonna throw you a curveball, adapt to it. And I don't gotta overcomplicate it either. I'm gonna do what I can with what I got, right? And I'm just grateful for that today, man, because without that, none of it even matters. And I wholeheartedly believe that and have enough research and development in that area that I know that to be true for myself.
Research and development. I love that. You ready, Milan?
I am ready.
So
Ask me
what
the
are
question again because I am lost in Mikey's answers.
we
I
already
love
knew
it.
that. We already knew that. What are some areas in your life where you are actively trying to become more adaptable and flexible?
Okay, right off the bat, biggest one is to turn over my defects and shortcomings to my higher power. It is where after I think I was I think I was talking on Wednesday even and before that with you about doing another step forward. I had a conversation with my sponsor on Wednesday night, and he was saying, he said sometimes we can inaccurately um be wanting to do another set of steps. He's like, I'm not telling you not to do that. But he said, how close are you to your higher power right now? He said, because he said for himself, one of the biggest mistakes can be us trying really hard to work on our defects and shortcomings instead of us asking them to be taken away. And so, are we trying to do God's job for him? Are we like, because guaranteed they're not going to fire him to pull us in there.
I love that. I love that.
and so like it really made me reflect on and so there's like my newest project right now is that I'm starting a Harry God box. And this wasn't what my sponsor recommended, but it was something somebody recommended to me because all this stuff that I'm struggling with. First of all, this guy Harry told my friend to start a God box. So the God box is a sealed up box with a little slit in it. And so, like my finances, I'm gonna put it on a slip, turn it over. My anger, put it in there, and I'm not going to be the one fighting them anymore. They'll now be in my Harry God box. And so that's one of my current endeavors is to embark upon my Harry God box era.
Do you open the box up?
You never open the box. Why would you open the
Okay.
box? You've
I didn't
given
know.
you've given those defects and shortcomings and all
Okay.
those all the things that you would act out in self-will on. Like right now, your conflict with these people, right? You'd be like conflict with these people. You write on a piece of paper and now that's not yours anymore. And you're
Okay.
just going to live in God's will of that.
Okay.
Whatever
like
the
that.
result may be, you're not going to be the one fighting that anymore. So welcome to Milan's Harry God box era.
I
And
like that.
so that's trying to approach basically my entire life differently in my form of will is what I'm trying to get flexibility in right now. And I think I could go into some other things, but honestly, that's pretty much the all-consuming event in my existence right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So, where are some areas in my life that I'm trying to actively become more adaptable and flexible? I mean, I hit on. I'm gonna just kind of piggyback on this relationship thing, man. This relationship thing. I'm trying to be more adaptable and flexible to the other side of this thing as it becomes more of a primary purpose in my life, and meeting them where they're at. Meeting
Yeah.
people where they're at, man, is tough. I got to meet people where that. I have a problem with people pleasing, guys. We've talked about that earlier on in this podcast. People pleasing is tough. It's one of the highest forms of dishonesty. It's self dishonesty. You're lying to yourself. But the meeting people where they're at, especially when you have somebody in your life that's very special, that is becoming more and more special in your life, let's say specifically a relationship or a romantic relationship, especially with somebody else that's in recovery, have to let them have their own recovery. But then obviously when I get into a discussion about it, when you sign up to be involved with somebody, and then let's say it's getting more and more um as it gets farther along in that relationship, um their yes, their recovery is their recovery and my recovery is mine, and anything you put in front of your recovery you're going to lose, right? But when that's that special person, their recovery is part of your recovery. Like their recovery is your life too, right? And so how do I deal with that, right? That's the thing that I'm doing. That's that I'm dealing with, is like, how am I dealing with meeting that in the middle, right? I got to meet that, her part in the middle and my part in the middle, and then we got to come to some kind of agreement. And it's actually working out really well. It's actually working out really well. There's just a few little hairy topics in there that we're still working through. But you know what I'm finding that's helping out, man, is we pray about it together. Bro, we pray
Nice.
about it together. And I'm telling you, man, when you pray about it together with that person, it's really an amazing experience to pray about it maybe once or twice throughout the day, and then at the end of the day that problem is not even there anymore. And I'm like almost coming to tears talking about it, because it's like an outer body experience when you pray about something that's really a rough thing, and then you pray about it with that person and it just works itself out. You talk about not having to do any back work or call the lawyer or call this person. Just pray about it with that person. Pray for that person. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, man. It's so fucking beautiful to be able to do that, and have the open mind and the clean and cleared out mind enough to be able to do something like that, and to do it on it. And look, it's still not easy to do. We it's like a reminder between us that we have to do it, and we almost kind of like force each other to do it. But then when we finally do it, it's like, why didn't we do that before? And that's how I know this prayer thing is not just something that we do. Prayer is a real thing, man. Prayer is so vital to what we have going on. Again, we don't have to pray to the same thing. You just have to pray. And I'm telling you, man, it's something that takes over your body. When you pray and things happen and that thing talks back, man, it's a game changer for your life inside and outside of this world, man, inside and outside of NA, or the fellowship, right? So man, it kind of even got me emotional, because we're literally going through some shit right now that is really tough, man. And it's a long distance relationship thing. I'm getting ready to go there here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be going there for her son's birthday. And so we've just got a lot of moving parts going on here, man. And it's getting to the point where now we want to be closer together, right? We want to be in the same place geographically. And now how's that going to work, man? I just started a new career,
You're
you
gonna
know.
move. You're gonna move. Just saying.
Well, the thing is that, I don't have any kids. She
That's
does,
right.
right? And
That's what I
so,
mean.
but at that point, she wants to move here, but it's like we got to get, her son through a certain amount of schooling, and then she wants to come here, but it's going to be tough, man. I finally have my first job in my life. This is my first job in my life I have ever been able to wake up in the morning and not be super fucking pissed off I have to go to work. Like I used to actually look forward to going to work most times.
Hmm.
I've never ever in my life been able to say that, guys. And I don't care. She's talking about, you can get a transfer, because it is a big, it's a big optical center that is worldwide. We are worldwide. So I do work for a franchise. So our doctor owns our franchise of this optical center. So it's going to be a little different, and it's not going to be the same. I don't care where you go. I can go to anywhere, but it's not going to be the same the way I have it here. I've got some of my best friends I work with, right? Like, I've got people around there. We all tell each other we love each other around there. I love my work. And yeah, I can go be an optician there in Louisville too, but like I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where my family is here. And I'm not saying I don't want to, like I'm just saying like my head, like I don't want that change. It's that fear of change, right?
Mm,
But it's something that I'm coming to terms with, and something that I'm gonna have to deal with, and something that I'm grateful that I get to deal with. I'm grateful I get to deal
Embracing
with
the
that.
constant state of change.
That's right. That's right, man. That's right.
love you, brother. Love
I
you.
love you guys too, man. I love you guys too.
Well, you
So
got me
that's
and
my
Mikey, and we love you.
I know. I know you guys do. I know. Never alone, never again, man. I know that. I know that for a
That's
fact.
right.
I love you guys, man. But that's my answer for that.
Nice.
So, Mikey, do you got a question?
Yeah, you got a
Yeah, I
question
got
for me? Maybe we'll do one more
Yeah,
round.
one more
and then
round. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
Nice. Mikey.
Let's see. Well, see, this is so great.
Look at little sneaky Mikey. He's like, oh, he's about it today. He's got good questions, man. His
I
zingers
know.
This
today,
is so.
boy.
Hey, listen, I can't take credit for all of them. I had another addict help me because I was like, I'm not an adult and I don't know how to ask adult questions.
In Milan, it
So
seems after the second or third podcast, that's when they really get into the
Yeah.
groove.
They're like,
man.
I'm not getting out questioned.
well, it's funny because thank goodness I had 4 questions because Milan took one of my questions basically.
And
You
I
just
took
took
one.
one, and here we go. Let's.
That's why I say bring 4 to 6 because it seriously you're gonna have to watch 3 of them evaporate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if this one might have been kind of asked, but is there a specific area in your life or in your program that has been lacking balance? How are you, or how did you work through it?
We kind of just asked that one, didn't we? That's the one I just asked.
So,
There's
the other
I
one-
could answer this one differently though for
Okay.
myself.
Cool.
For myself, recently in the last, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 months because that is still recent to me. Life comes by in a blink. First thing is prayer and meditation, both of those. I felt like in the middle of the fall, I identified that I wasn't doing enough of them. I started implementing meditation into my days, and that was simple enough. And then I started going to like a Dharma recovery meeting before my AA meeting in person on Mondays because they have a guided meditation in it. And I'm not quite certain about the mixture of the philosophies of that and the 12 steps, but irrelevant. They are like the least pushy dogma like recovery I've ever been to, and great meditations. That has been implemented in, and then the prayer. Like I'm feel like I'm like I said as well on other podcasts recently that I've implemented it as part of my exercise. And it's a point like I'm a very fidgety guy. Like if you watch the 3 of us on this podcast, I'm shifting, I'm moving, I'm itching, I'm scratching. I'm like I can and I have not had caffeine in 5 hours right now. Like, I'm just that guy who just can't, like, the hummingbird doesn't land very often. And so to physically distract my physicality and then pull prayer in, to me feels like the only way that I can fully give prayer the concentration that it needs. And I know that most people would say, like, oh no, you got to calm your body. That just doesn't work for me. I will literally be like vibrating my right foot, scratching my left chest, like even if I try to lie there. So I might as well move my body, get that part of me distracted, get that autonomic part of me just going on that. And then it's like I'm able to pull in the prayer. So, yeah. So for me, it's been prayer and meditation in my program. And I feel benefits from it. On the days that I have done both, I'm feeling more connected. I'm feeling more emotionally, like my emotional sobriety is good. And my spiritual fitness, as Mikey would say. And there we go.
That. And when he was answering that, I did formulate a different kind of answer and way to that. So
Yeah.
ask that one more time, and then I can answer that.
All
What you
right,
got?
let's see. Is there a specific area in your life or in your program that has been lacking balance? How are you or how did you work through it?
Yeah. So, you know, I'm trying to avoid, I've been trying to avoid drama in this program, right? I try to keep myself out of situations, but when certain situations come across, and you tend to be one of the leaders of a group, a trusted servant, you tend to get yourself wrapped up in that drama. And so, trying to avoid that drama, and that kind of ties in with the relationship thing too, has been pretty tough, man. Um, because look, man, as loving as I am, I'm a really loving person. My detachment game is just as strong, right? I'll say that again. As loving as I am, bro, my detachment game is just as strong.
We
So,
might have been separated at birth, bro.
so I can't lose sight of that, man, because like avoiding drama to me does not mean that I'm scared of you. It just means that like I have anger issues and I don't want to go to jail. Okay. Like that's real talk, man. I try to avoid drama at all costs, man. And my, like I said, my detachment game is very strong. And so as I come out of this addiction thing, man, that has lessened, and that grip on me has gone away. But that's where I set boundaries, man. I gotta set boundaries. People are very, very uh people have a way of influencing me that that puts me outside of myself, and it's being able to stop those before they become actions, right? Because my brain is running security on my emotions, right? I have to have that constant security guard of my mind running security on my emotions, and so if not, I'm going to lose out every time. And so I've gotten a lot better at that, man. I've gotten a lot better at that. But I've really meeting people where they're at, and because people can say whatever they want, but as long as I'm working a program and I'm staying consistent and I'm being honest, I ain't got nothing to worry about, man. I got nothing to worry about. You know, part of self-care for me today is not arguing with people who are completely dead set on misunderstanding who I am as a person. Okay. Like people know what to expect when I show up. And they know that when I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up. And they know what kind of person I'm going to be when I get there. But if you have people that are completely dead set on misunderstanding who I am as a person, I'm not gonna. I ain't got time for you, man. I don't have time for you in my life in terms of like, yeah, I'm here in the meetings and I will help you and I'll extend that hope and love that I give to everybody, but I'm not gonna let it steal my energy, man. I'm not gonna put any energy into that.
We don't
You
have to
know,
be subject to abuse.
exactly. That
Like
ties in with
like
that.
tolerance is one thing, but like actual subjugation to other abuse, that's that's where, to be honest, I've walked away from certain situations in the program where
As
I'm
well,
just
you
like,
should have.
I'm like, I have been abused. This hurts. Ouch. I
Yeah.
don't keep my hand on the burner for the public good.
Yeah, like look,
And
see, look at me, look, I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with it. No,
look at, I
get
could
the
take the
I
biggest
could take
burn
it.
of
I'm a
anyone.
badass, man. I'm a badass. Look,
Some,
he's
some, sometimes it is okay to spiritually outgrow a place.
yes, amen, amen. And so it's not so I don't it's not my job to live my life to your expectations because you don't have any self-esteem.
And one thing that I learned is that in some ways, my level of service in the group that I've recently left was holding other members back. Everybody was relying on me a lot of the times. And now it's like a lot of other people have stepped up. And
Yeah,
that is a great thing. Like
Mhm.
we need that level of service right away in that way. But now we need to be going out and sponsoring people.
yeah,
Like like I'm not saying that we shouldn't be chairing meetings. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that, like when I was chairing that meeting 5 days a week, that means 4 of those days, other people weren't stepping up or even having to consider it.
Some of the drama that I'm dealing with in my stuff deals with that group. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's just I love you guys, man. I love you, Milan. Thank you for saying that. I love you, Mikey.
Hey, I got
I
my
love
hairy
you
God
back.
box. I got my hairy God box.
I
put
want
some
one.
stuff in it.
I want one.
Nice.
I need one.
I'm like loading it up right now. I got
Is
5
that like an
tons of
old
it.
Kleenex box? Can I use one of those, or what
No,
does it have?
it's a reading glasses. It's a reading glasses box. I just kind of slid in it.
Got plenty of those.
Yeah,
Right
you
now.
do. Because I don't want too big of a box. Like I figure once I get it full to a certain point, I would hope
That's
that
what she
those
said.
things are gone.
That's what she said. I was gonna say, oh God, we're related. We are related. I was gonna say that, but I was like, are we gonna go there? And he went there, and I love you for that, man. Thank you. God damn it.
Okie dokie, Mikey, you got to answer yours now, brother.
Indeed, and
Or do
this
you want me
is,
to answer it for you?
you basically did, man. You basically did, because it's I'm just going to keep it on the eye because I intend to interpret and perceive things differently, but I'm going to echo that same statement, like we're definitely related, because I've been trying to focus on the not being so judgy, not being so involved in drama. I don't have to be surrounded by stuff like that, or I don't have to let it consume my thoughts, right? Today I can be perturbed or peeved by something, and I can call somebody and say, "Hey, I'm feeling funky." I might even call two people. Shit, I might even call a third person, right? But it's important for me that I learn to just speak about it and then let it die its natural death. That doesn't say I don't hang on to little bits and pieces of it, but over time, that ebb and flow of recovery is gonna wash that away, and it's eventually just gonna be gone, and it's no longer gonna have that special place in my head that I like to keep it there, because it's important, man, because I'm I'm uh I'm in this place today that, like, we said it the other day. If I'm judging you, how the hell am I going to help you? Right? If I'm in that place where I get on this high horse and I'm like, look at me, I can regurgitate literature and I can speak about it all day long and I can make it sound all nice, and like I'm sitting here trying to sound all Nino Brown, but it's really fucking Pookie speaking. Like, how am I really living, right? And that's the important part for me today, man, is to let go of all these preconceived notions, and try and avoid those shower muscles, and try and just live in this place where it's like, I'm gonna let you be you, and I'm gonna be
Keyboard
me, right?
gangsters.
That's right. And like I could just be in this place that my higher power has intended me to be, because I really do believe that Narcotics Anonymous was put into my life at a time in my life that I absolutely needed it the most ever, right? And I really wanted to answer this question with maintaining connections, right? Because I build these relationships in these rooms and in this on this platform, and you know I don't do it for funsies, right? I always tell everybody I don't put my number in the chat if somebody asks me. I don't put it in there just for fun. Like, maybe this is the wrong way to put it, but I almost expect a phone call, right? Because, like, I'm taking the time out of my day to try and help somebody, and check it out, right? That's not any of my business either. Sometimes, like, I've been that dude, like, hey, let me get your phone number because I want to sound cool, and like, fucking let me get that thing. But today it's not about that. Today it's about maintaining connections, and part of recovery is learning to build these relationships and be able to maintain them, right? Being able to show up for another person unconditionally with that love, right? And I love that you were talking about that, because prayer to prayer, I respect everybody in the room. Prayer to prayer, I do. I'm here no matter what. And once the meeting's over, it doesn't mean I got to rock with you in the parking lot. My sponsor told me a long time ago, you don't got to dance with everybody, but you got to dance with some people, right? and I try and find those people. And how do I do that, man? I listen. I listen. I like to watch how people operate. I like to get that one-on-one connection with somebody and actually talk to them and like, how do you apply this in your life while allowing people to still be human? Because I'm not better than anybody else. That's why I love humility, man. That's why I love that humility piece, because like I can let go of some of that grandiosity, and I can let go of that and just allow everybody to be everybody, man. I had to remember first and foremost that like we're all addicts and we're all, we're all here for a reason. Whatever that reason is none of my business, right? But I have to remember too that everybody's a human being and we're fallible. And I needed to learn that for myself to be able to apply that to everybody else. And sometimes I struggle with that, man. Sometimes I do, because I'm not perfect. Sometimes I want to judge people. Sometimes I want to scoff when I hear somebody start to share. Sometimes I scoff when I see somebody come into a meeting. Sometimes I don't want to go to meetings because certain people are sharing it, right? And what the fuck good is that going to do, right? What good is that going to do other than just rent space in my head? And it very well may cloud the thing that like I found is my primary purpose, right? And that's not only the group's responsibility, but it's mine too, to carry this message of recovery, because it was so graciously gifted upon me in that desperation. And I'm gonna be the person that's just gonna fucking lock it up in my little fucking hairy god box and keep it and not give it away. Man, that's the most selfish thing
You
I can
give it away
absolutely
putting
do.
it here. You give it
That's
away
right.
in the box.
I need
That's
one.
right.
I need
And
one.
yeah, man, that's probably the area in my life when we're in recovery that like I'm hyper focused on. Mostly probably because I just finished 6 and I'm in the middle of 7 right now. So I'm real hyper focused on the way I show up in relationships and the way I treat people. And I'm really trying to break those patterns that I learned in step 4, man. And I'm just trying to show up differently and be there differently. And I'm here for my brothers and sisters, and I'm definitely here for you two, because both of you are my motherfucking brothers.
And not
I love
everything
you
is
both.
rainbows and hot tours, motherfucker.
That's right. That's right.
I love you,
love
man.
sitting in your dirty diaper. I
That's a
love you
big ass
guys.
fucking diaper.
I love you guys. They make extra large huggies.
90-day shitters.
This has been a very fun, funny, informative, heart-wrenching, soul-binding,
Tres
brotherhood
amigo.
building.
Three
It's
Musketeers.
amazing. I love you guys. And I want to thank you guys for being here today.
Let's do this again soon.
We definitely will. But you know what we got to do? Everybody out there, tune in next episode.
I got
Recovery Fun. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.